Czechoslovakia, it's that country with a really long name. Now this video aims to teach you some of this country's history, so it could mean more to you than just that country with a really long name. But to fully understand the history of Czechoslovakia, one needs to understand the history of the hyphenated country that came before it, Austria-Hungary, which you can learn more by clicking here, and which for the sake of brevity and my animation skills, I will be summarizing down to its relevant dates for the video. October 6, 1908, Austria-Hungary annexes Bosnia. June 28, 1914, Franz Ferdinand gets shot in response. This activates a treaty from May of 1882 wherein the Kaiser would come to Austria-Hungary's aid if war were to occur. Yada yada yada, Britain allies with France, invasion, great wars. Gatling's gun, you know the drill. Anyhow, let's check back in with Austria-Hungary. And with that, Austria-Hungary was no more. Now it's Austria-Hungary, and would you look at that? A Czechoslovakia is born. What a happy day this is. Meanwhile, Germany did not do so hot during the war. After the war, the Allies at the Treaty of Versailles made Germany get broke and forced the Germans to deindustrialize and pay off everyone's war debts. This was bad for the Germans for many obvious reasons, but what was Czechoslovakia doing at this time? Well, under the Thomas Garrick Masaryk, it looked like Czechoslovakia was going to do fantastic. Coming out of the war with a very strong economy, it looked like Czechoslovakia was on its way to becoming one of the most prosperous nations of Eastern Europe. That was until the Great Depression. Despite the promising looks of the young nation, they struggled to keep it afloat. Many felt this impact very hard. One group that was hit particularly hard was the Sudetenland Germans, who believed that they were being unfairly treated by the Czechoslovakians and were receiving less aid than everyone else. In Germany, Hitler hears about this and politely asks Britain if he can invade. After invading Czechoslovakia, Hitler proceeds to take over the most of the European nations. Luckily, the Allies beat him back, and in a surprising twist, Hitler gets assassinated by himself, and the Allies make quick work of the remaining Nazi forces. Meanwhile, Czechoslovakia has become unannexed by Germany, and has instead become part of the most glorious Soviet Union. Now, this had a number of side effects, one including Czechoslovakia had to share its economy with Moscow, and it had to not vote, and also it had to become a puppet for the Soviets. Quite understandably, the Czechoslovakians were not too happy about this, so they elected this guy who implemented a policy of socialism with a human face. The Soviets disliked that. Now, you may ask, what is socialism with a human face? Broadly speaking, it was a liberalization program that gave the Czechoslovaks more freedom, which, for obvious reasons, Moscow hated. And so then the Russians went out, and they were out for blood. And so Russia responded to the Czechoslovakians' call for rights by sending in the combined armies of the Warsaw Pact. And this is how it largely stayed for the rest of the 80s, with Czechoslovakia occupied until Germany told Russia its coffee sucked and the Soviets responded by dissolving. As a result, Czechoslovakia was finally truly free. But then the Slovaks and the Czechs decided they couldn't agree how to run the country, and they dissolved the country in one of the most peaceful country splits in history.